So this is episode 15 of Oluswole, the podcast on the budget. I'm excited to welcome our guest. He is a world traveler and cultural icon. Kim, what's good?
Hello to me. Honored to be here. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm your number one fan, man. Honestly, such an honor to be here. You have no idea.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate the support. I've been seeing it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's been cool to have you on. I think this is going to be a good episode. Just to provide a bit of context as to how we know each other. So we went to the same school. I think you joined in did you join in year 8 or year 7?
Year 8, yeah, at the beginning of year 8.
Yeah. So you joined in year 8. You're there to the end of year 11. So that's 7th grade through 10th grade. So you're there for 5 years.
4 years.
Oh yeah,
8,
4
9,
years.
10,
Yeah,
11.
yeah. I was bad on
I'm
my
not sure
part.
if you Pen would be happy to hear about your master's.
Yeah. Hey, I'm done with calculus. I did one semester and I was out. Yeah, definitely my hardest class. But yeah, so you were there for 4 years. But you've lived all across the world. You lived in Nigeria, California, Abu Dhabi, Wales, and you go to school in New York, which we'll get to later, and you're in Jordan right now. So tell me about what's your favorite place that you lived in so far? Because you've been in so many places in your lifetime.
I mean, whenever I tell people about all the places I lived in, that's the first question they ask. What's my favorite place? So like, to be honest though, my answer changes each and every time because there isn't exactly a one set favorite place. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
all the places I lived in are really unique and different in their own ways. So it's really hard for me to like pick. It's not exactly a linear scale. You know what I mean? Like from 1 to 100, this place was 72, this place was 90. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to do that. But in terms of how I've changed as a person, I would say Abu Dhabi was perhaps one of the most significant, periods of time of my life.
Mm. How do you think Abu Dhabi molded you?
Well, first of all, I got to, make acquaintance with the great Timmy, and that's why I was able to
Make
make this
acquaintance.
podcast today. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be here without this. But also because I think that's where I shaped most of my values and ideas that I still hold until today, if you know what I mean.
Mm. Do you think that was the influence of, like you said, your values and ideas were shaped by that experience? Was it being in that country or specifically being in the school that you're at and the diverse group of people in that area?
I think it has more to do with the people that I spend time with, talk to, shared ideas with, hung out with. You know what I mean? I think it was mostly the people.
Mm.
The environment did help too, in a sense. But I'll be honest with you, Abu Dhabi as a place is also very unique. It's an international bubble. It's it's made up of businessmen and diplomats and teachers. It's very much it's one of its kind. But I think it was more to do with the people that really shaped me and molded me to who I am.
Mm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Tell me about living in California, because I mean, California gets a lot of love on the podcast, but I didn't really
Really,
remember you
does it?
kind of. Yeah, it does. Yeah, some of the episodes. I remember you kind of spoke about it a little bit at Brighton, but I don't really know too much about your experience there. So, like, what brought you there, and what was your experience like there?
I mean, what brought me there was my dad's job,
Mm.
as with everywhere else. But California, in my personal opinion, was kind of underwhelming, and in retrospect, it it's really hyped up. Like oh my God, Beverly Hills, oh my God, Hollywood, whatever. But I personally thought it didn't have much spirit, if that makes any sense.
Mm.
People there are pretty plastic and kind of uninteresting. You know what I mean? Most people there haven't left their towns, let alone their states or the countries. You know what I mean? Like these people with uninteresting backgrounds, with pretty much the same style of upbringing. Went to this one school for like 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, and I mean the weather, of course, is amazing. It's brilliant. You can always count on it to be sunny. But
Mm.
I personally don't think it was as interesting as many people would think it to be.
Mm. Were you in NorCal or SoCal?
I was in LA, so
Okay.
yeah, Pasadena, LA.
Okay, that's cool.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that kind of sentiment about LA before. Specifically, I mean, LA is a huge place, but I've heard that sentiment about Hollywood specifically, Beverly Hills and, the more attractive, quote unquote, parts of LA.
Yeah.
But I've been to LA and I would say it's a pretty, like, low key, nice place to live. The fakeness is, I think it's more of a celebrity type thing, but
Hmm.
I mean, personally, I feel like people there are just pretty laid back and chill. So, do you ever feel like it was hard for you to maintain lasting relationships with people, given how much movement you did across the world?
That's actually the exact thing I've struggled with the most in my life, to be honest. Because, I've lived in six different countries in four different continents. And
Wow.
if you count all the cities, I've lived in more than maybe 13 or 14 cities in total. And
Whoa.
so 4 years in Abu Dhabi was kind of long for my standards, 4 years in one place, to be honest. Um,
Mm.
but as a matter of fact, I don't even have that many lasting relationships, if you'd call it that way. Like I'm still in contact with, a few people from Abu Dhabi, a few people from Wales, a few people from Korea, and that's pretty much it. I don't have any sort of childhood friends, as me put it, people you've grown up with, people you've seen since you were four. I don't have any of those. So
Mm.
it's kind of, you have to kind of adapt, right? You have to learn how to make friends quickly when you move. You have to learn how to like squeeze yourself into a pre-existing group of friends, for you to have any at all. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a skill I acquired, but as a result, I don't have any, lifelong, childhood friends. I mean, I would count you as my childhood friend, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Um, I'm obviously not as well traveled as you are in terms of like the places I've lived. Really, I've only lived in two places. Well, technically three. I was born on the East Coast, but I lived in Texas and I lived in Abu Dhabi. So, I mean, and even in my case, like I don't have a lot of childhood friends. Like, as in, when I say childhood, I mean like age 10 and below, simply because I haven't. I left the country when I was so young to move to the UAE. Like I was, pretty young when I did that. So I can only imagine someone like you who's been living in what you said 13 cities. I mean,
Something like that.
yeah, I can only imagine it must be pretty difficult for you to maintain those kind of relationships. Is that something that you're looking forward to, like establishing a circle of lifelong friends? Is that something you're looking forward to accomplishing in college?
I mean, definitely it's something I would, because I'll be spending 4 years minimum in my college, so I'd hope I can make some lifelong friends. But to be honest, though, because I've always wanted it, but now that I've lived 20 years without it, it's not something I am not entirely used to. Like I'm okay with making new friends here and there, and you know what I mean.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
I
it certainly
guess.
would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you've had to. You're probably a pretty adaptable person, given all the places you've been to. Like you probably had to, adapt in uh, many different kind of situations. So this isn't something that's new to you at all.
Yeah, I actually
Mm.
one of my roommates from high school actually gave me a nickname. He used to call me a social chameleon, and yeah, and he was referring to my ability to adapt and adjust to whichever environment that I'm left in or whichever group of people that I'm left with.
Mm.
And I
Yeah,
actually quite like that. I've been writing that on all my resumes and CVs and and my essays. I quite like that. I think it
yeah, you got.
really wraps me up as a person nicely.
Yeah, you got to advertise that skill for sure. Put that on that CV, on that resume. You know, it's definitely a good skill to have. I mean, you have to be able to adapt to like different kinds of. Some people might think that you're conforming, but like really, it's just being able to fit in different environments is just a really invaluable skill. So, I mean, I can only praise you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, dude. So you were at our school for 4 years, right? And then you spent the last 2 years of high school in United World
Wales.
Colleges.
Yeah,
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 and
that's right.
Atlantic
I'm
College.
surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you remember the name. You do your
Hey,
research.
doing research. I come prepared for all the episodes, and that's based in Bridgend in Wales. So,
Actually, Lantwood Major in Wales. The Bridgend is a nearby city.
oh, okay, all
Hmm.
right. My question is, how did I mean? First of all, when you got moved there from Abu Dhabi, did people ask you when you said you were from Abu Dhabi or you just moved from there? Were people like, "Oh, dude, like, are people like swimming in gold and riding on camels?" Like, did they ask you a bunch of crazy questions about living in a place like Abu Dhabi, or was it pretty low key?
Okay, to be honest, the school I went to wasn't your like average high school. It
Mm.
was what they call themselves a deliberately diverse environment. So we had something like 90 something in nationalities, which is one of the few environments that are arguably more international than Abu Dhabi. You know, I think we
Mm.
have the Guinness World Record for the most nationalities represented in a group hug.
Whoa,
Mhm.
it's crazy.
Yeah. So, and also, it's not just about nationality; it's also about the backgrounds each and every people came from.
Mm.
And for example, you see some children of some millionaires, and then you see just middle class, everyday people like me, and then you see people um, in from royal families across Europe, and you see people who come with refugee statuses. So
Mm.
it was an entire bundle of different backgrounds. So to be honest, my story wasn't my story of moving around a lot, my be coming from a presumably a place where people swim in gold wasn't exactly super interesting anyway. Everyone has something to bring to the table. You know what I mean? Each and every people had um, interesting stories and cool stuff to share. So I was just one of those many people.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, remember you were kind of. I remember when we were in school together, you kind of told me about the United World Colleges system. I'd never heard of it, but it seemed like you said, it didn't seem like your average school. Like it seems very international. It seems like people come from all walks of life, like come through that school, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys did a lot of out of the country travel, right? Given the kind of environment you're in.
Travel, like as in terms of vacation or just moving around.
Just like moving around for like school trips, excursions, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of activities, off campus. We had in the IB. I did the IBs in Wales, and the IB. A part of the course is this thing called I forgot what it's called. It was Project Week. Yeah, Project Week, and
Mm,
basically, you could choose to go off campus, even overseas, to work on a project for a whole week and stuff like that. It was yeah,
mm.
really encouraging in that aspect. I don't want
You
to
said,
sound like I'm advertising my high school, but like you keep on asking me, so I have no choice. Yeah.
yeah, no problem. You said overseas for the project.
Overseas, as in like Ireland or France, or just nearby.
Mm, okay.
Mhm.
And where did you go? Did you go to Ireland? Did you go to France? Like
No,
any specific?
I stayed on campus. I what's it? I helped prepare for this festival. We put up tents and stuff like that.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, I've seen the some photos you posted on Instagram, and it's like, it seems like a very kind of, how do I say it? Like, it seems like you guys are always celebrating culture, and there's a certain
Hmm.
adult like vibe the school gives me. I don't know if that's necessarily true.
I don't like vibe because okay, I mean in terms of culture, yeah, we have a lot of events, a lot of um, like events where we celebrate our cultures, we wear our national dresses, we
Hmm.
make our share our national food and whatnot. Because the whole mission of the school is bringing cultures and people together, nations together, using
Hmm.
education, of course. And I think you get the adult-like vibes from my pictures in suits and dresses, right?
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
that's because our school is a little extra with the balls. So in normal schools, you have prom what like twice your entire high school, like junior prom and senior prom or something like that. We
Hmm.
had basically the equivalent of prom, a little smaller than prom maybe, but four times a year.
Hmm. Wow.
Four different incidents, four separate incidents a year. We would, wear nice dresses and suits, and we would pretend we're all grown up and stuff like that. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I posted a bunch of those, so I guess that's where you got the idea from.
uh, yeah, I mean, 4 balls a year. I mean, y'all be doing the most. I mean,
To be honest, though, like props to the girls especially because we normally like the guys we just own one pair, like a single set of suit, and then we'll
mm,
maybe wear a different like shirt every time. But the girls, for the love of God, they couldn't wear the same dress twice ever. You know, they have to go each and every time there's a ball. They have to go out, pick a new dress, pick a new I don't know, like skirt, and it
mm.
will cost them a fortune. And I don't know, kudos to them.
And you gotta make investments sometimes. You know, if you want something bad, gotta put your money into it. Yeah, shout out to them though. Um, Tell me about that school specifically, like being at Atlantic College and being in Wales, because I think was that your first time living in Europe?
It was my first time again living in Europe because I visited there before, but that was the first time I actually stayed for longer than a few weeks. But first of all, Wales is there are more. I'm pretty sure there are more sheep than people in Wales. There are like, and within like the a 5 kilometer radius from our school, there was pretty much nothing except for a couple of houses, a couple of maybe yeah, a couple of houses, and mostly with just grass and sheep. And
Wow.
except for like a few cities like Cardiff, Swansea, it would pretty much be like that the entire, in the entire country of Wales. To be
Mm,
honest, it was the air was fresh, it was super nice. But
mm,
other than that, I personally couldn't tell you anything good about that kind of environment because I'm more of a city boy myself. I've lived in big cities all my life, and that was my first time being in a place where a 7-Eleven wasn't within a five minute walk from my house. You know what I mean? Like it was the first
mm.
time I had to genuinely like look for a McDonald's because everywhere I've been to, every corner you turn, you see a McDonald's or a Starbucks. You know what I mean? That was the
Mm.
first time I ever had to Google where my nearest McDonald's in my entire life. And funny enough, the nearest one was like 20 minutes by car. So
Oh wow, by car.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Huh. Y'all living different in Wales, dog. Y'all living different. I also cannot relate. I mean, what I've lived in Houston, Abu Dhabi, and Philadelphia, like just pretty major cities. So yeah, I've been a city kid my life as well. Um, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. And did you? I remember when we were in high school, you did a lot of debating. That's something you're pretty passionate about. I remember being in those English classrooms on a Wednesday afternoon, doing those debates. Good times.
Good
Yeah,
times indeed.
yeah. We actually, the NYUAD tournament.
Hmm.
So we did it in
Yeah,
2019.
after I left, yeah, I saw that on one of your
Yeah,
Instagrams. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, well done to you guys. But honestly, though, I mean, haven't I told you this before, Timmy? I've told you this Korean proverb before. When the
Oh my
when the
gosh, not
lion
this.
when the lion leaves the jungle, the rabbit is a king.
I disagree. I remember you told me that a while ago. You told me that when we were, I think
When
we
you got
were
house
going.
captain.
Exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah. Because just for a bit of context for the listeners, so in our high school, we have a house system in our school. So the senior school at that time was year 9 through 13, which is 8th grade through 12th grade. They're split into 4 different houses, and we were both in the same house. So in your junior year or in year 12, um, that's when you're eligible to be head of house, right? Which is
House
a pretty big
captain.
deal. House captain, yeah. So in year 11, he left at the end of year 11, but in year 11, we didn't know he was leaving. So we expected that like we would be the main front runners for the role next year. We'd be going against each other. Uh,
I mean, that's
that
what you
did
thought.
well. I mean, that's what would have
Yeah,
happened. That's what would have happened.
cool, cool.
So yeah, he told me that proverb. Yeah, I was pretty funny. But here's where I disagree because when we did the debating tournament with you in 2018, there were only like 12 teams. But when we did it the second time around in 2019, there were about 40 teams. So the competition got tougher. So I don't know if
So I did it twice as well. And first time I did it, I don't think you were there. The
I
second time
wasn't.
I did it, Yeah, the first time I was with Jackson no, actually, who was I with the first time? Anyway, the second time I was there, I remember I was with Jackson and Shashwat. Remember Shashwat?
Yeah,
Yeah. And we got second place team, and I got first place debater.
nice
Yeah.
work.
But
Uh,
I remember I was pretty cocky, that blew up my ego. Oh my God, I'm so good at debating. And then I went to Wales the same expectation that I would be, amazing at debating, I'll crush everybody. And then I was immediately knocked off my high horse. You
mm.
know,
You became the sheep.
I indeed became the sheep. I was
Uh,
so. Uh, do you know what WSDC is? World Schools Debating Championship. So
no.
that's like the debating equivalent of the World Cup, but that's for high schools.
Mm,
And I was nominated to go to the Abu Dhabi qualification round,
mm,
the selection round for the Abu Dhabi team, to be represented at the WSDC. And I went there, and that was the first time I got a reality check. You know what? I suck. I thought I was good compared to these other peasants in back in Brighton, but they were trash anyway. You know what I mean? Like I got a huge like reality check, and then I went to Wales, and then I wasn't even one of the best in my school, not let alone be selected to go to the selection round. You know what I mean?
uh,
Like, and that's pretty much when I decided to give up on debating, because you know what? Like, it's sometimes when you thought you're good at something, when you think you're so good at something, and then you see so many people who are so much better than you with no effort, that's when you just don't want to do it at all. That's kind of what
mm,
happened to me. So I haven't exactly been pursuing that really. I mean, I went to like this one other competition in the University of Cardiff. I did okay there. That's pretty much the end of my debating career, if you call it a career anyway.
mm. So you're no longer a big fish in a small pond. You were a small fish now.
I was the smallest fish in a gigantic pond.
Uh, yeah, I mean, debating, don't get me wrong, like debating in our school was fun, but once you get to like you're competing against people from all around the world in debating competitions, that's just a whole different level. Uh, yeah, not that I'm speaking from experience or anything like that, but I mean that would really humble someone who's good at debating on a local level. Yeah, I want to transition to doing the IB, and you kind of talked about that. IB is notoriously rigorous. I did A levels, but just tell me about that system and like how that affected you.
So the IB, for a bit of context, is so you have to do six different subjects and in six different categories. So you need to pick one subject from each category. So the first one is English, because you can choose to do language or literature or land lit or something else. And then you need to do a second language, and then you need to do
Hmm.
a math, which is math higher level, math standard level, math. But I think they got rid of the third one, but whatever. And then you have to do one humanities, one science, and
Hmm.
either an art, or you can choose one from the other five categories. So that's your six subjects. And from those six subjects, you need to choose three higher levels, three standard levels. And on top of those six subjects, you need to do at least an hour of creative activity, physical activity, and service each week. So
Hmm.
that's 3 hours minimum a
Hmm.
week, but you can do more if you'd like to. And once a year, you need to do this project thing called Project Week. So you spend a week working on this project. You can create your own project, or you can join a pre-existing one, but it has to be something substantial, and you have to come up with some kind of end result. You can't be, hey, I studied math for a week. You have to have some kind of outcome, like the tangible one.
Hmm.
And what else is there? I think that's pretty much it. And I think what makes IB so hard is the level of independence. Like, it's so as one of the assignment tasks in the IB is called the IA, internal assessments, and
Hmm.
basically it's I think it varies depending on the subject, but it's around 800 to 1,000 word essay on a topic of your choice, and that's you have to do like a couple of them for each subject throughout your 2 years of IB.
Mm.
And okay, 800 to 1,000 words doesn't sound too bad, but the fact that you have to conduct your own research, come up with your own topic, and be able to pursue it with minimal guidance from teachers, I would say is quite challenging. And in a way, it does prepare you for university. I
Mm.
mean, that's when I realized like why they call the IB a pre-university course rather than a high school course.
Mm.
But anyway, and also, oh yeah, one more, and then you have to do this thing called extended essay, which is due your third term, so the first semester of your second year of IB, and that's a 4,000 word essay. It's a very detailed, insightful research on one of the higher level subjects that you take. So one of your few
Mm.
higher level subjects. I chose physics. Huge mistake, but let's talk about it later if you get the chance to.
Hmm.
But and that is you basically spend your half your summer on it. So it's a 4,000 word essay. It has to be like pretty much like university, college level stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like tens of academic articles you need to cite. You need to like have at least how many references to all these things and whatever. So that's probably one of the more challenging tasks in the IB. But overall, the IB is notorious for its difficulty in the STEM area, so maths and sciences.
Mm.
Because to be honest, I haven't seen any other. I haven't taken the A level, for example, so I don't have anything else to compare it to. But I felt it too. Physics was certainly. I took physics higher level. That was by far the most challenging course I've ever taken in my life. Even
Mm.
even counting the courses I've taken in college right now. But yeah, the IB, I would say, yeah, the level of independence and the level of self-control. So all the deadlines are set. You have to, work it yourself. There are no teachers or anyone kicking your butt, to do it. You have to
Mm.
manage your own time with all these different tasks coming at you one by one after another. So I think that was the most challenging part of the IB. Content-wise, I think it was manageable, apart from physics. But I
Mm.
think it's the workload and the level of independence that makes it difficult and challenging.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a grind. I mean, especially the research aspect of it, because in A levels, I mean, yes, A levels are a grind too, but it's more of it's more focused. You know what I mean? Like you're spreading your concentration only across 3 or 4 subjects, and one thing I kind of like about the IB is that is the research aspect, because that, like you said, it prepares you for college. It's like,
And trust
we
me,
submit.
it definitely did prepare me for college. Certainly did.
Mm. Especially like writing, knowing how to cite sources and writing multiple 1,000 word papers. Like that sounds something maybe in an English literature class, like you're doing analytical work on like a text, but in most A-level subjects, that research component isn't really highly emphasized. So I think that's something that is kind of lacking from the system. But yeah, interesting take. You go to St. Lawrence College in New York, St. Lawrence University in New York. Yeah. And that's based in Canton, right?
Yep.
Uh-huh. And you said that you lived in big cities your whole life, and early in the episode. So I just wanted to say, how was it like transitioning from being a big city person to living in upstate New York?
I mean, so I already got a taste of living in the countryside from Wales, right? And
Mm.
for those 2 years, I was just basically counting down to the day I'll be leaving this place. I can't wait to get out of this sheep hell, you know. And then I end up in Canton, New York, which is no better. It's worse if anything because of the weather. It's so cold up there, and it's
Mm.
just as deserted. The nearest town is slightly closer to the school than it was back in Wales,
Mm.
but still like it's very remote. Like it's like a 10-minute drive to the nearest McDonald's. It's like a solid 20-minute walk to the nearest little grocery store. So I think I've adjusted a little by now because as I told you, I'm a social chameleon. I'm also an environmental chameleon. It appears, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think I've grown used to it. But make no mistake by saying I got used to it doesn't mean I enjoy it by any means.
Hmm.
I still prefer to live in the city any day of the week.
I heard you. Yeah. Yeah. That's. I would also prefer to live in the city. That's why I'm kind of grateful to be going to school in Philadelphia because I feel like the city just gives you life. You know, the cars, the sounds, being able to
The
walk
people,
everywhere. Yeah, just the whole dynamic, even the good and the bad, all that combined. Uh, but can you walk? Like, how do you get around in Canton? Is it just walking, or is it Uber? Or,
I mean, there is no Uber up there.
oh,
You a lot of my friends drive, so I would, ask them for a ride if I need something. I would tag along when they're going to Walmart. But the nearest town, so Canton, is maybe 15 to 20 minutes away. And I sometimes walk there when I feel like it, when the weather is nice. Because to be honest, when the weather is nice, it's a decent walk. It's just
mm,
flat and straight. But I prefer not to when the snow is knee high or when the temperature is negative 35 degrees Celsius.
mm. Yeah, -35 degrees Celsius. That's crazy.
That's the
Uh,
coldest that I've checked this year. 35,
mm.
negative 35.
Is that like January type weather?
Late January, I think. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, being on the East Coast in January, speaking from experience, as someone who's lived in hot places my whole life, that is, I'm not built for cold weather. Like that, that, that snow and that cold hits different. You could be taking out, like, you're trying to get your phone out, so I don't know, pay for something, and then like your hand is shaking. Like that is just a different level of cold. I'm not built for that. I don't know if you had a similar experience. Well, you came from Wales, so I'm sure they got pretty. It gets
No,
pretty
no,
cold.
Wales is not cold. Wales is not cold. We had
Oh,
snow once in the 2 years that I spent there.
oh wow. Okay,
I
I
mean, it
was.
was right next to the sea. It's called Atlantic College because it's literally next to the Atlantic Ocean.
Mm,
So the sea water definitely does help keep the climate temperate. It's not too hot in the summer. It's not too cold in the winter.
mm,
Yeah, but it was certainly super damp and rainy all the time.
mm. So that means you were on the west coast of Wales, right?
Uh, the southern coast of Wales, yeah, southern coast.
Okay. Oh yeah. I guess both the west and southern coast border the Atlantic, probably. If my
And
geography is right.
technically, all of the coasts in the UK, in the British Isles, is in the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair
Mhm.
enough. Yeah, a bit of UK geography right there. So I wanted to transition to the Oluswole Bowl. It's a part of the podcast where we ask you some off the cuff questions. It might be somewhat related to what we were talking about, or they might be completely different. So I'll just go ahead and fire away. What's something you wish you knew 10 years ago? So your 10-year-old self.
uh, that higher level physics is no joke.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a joke. Never mind. Let me think. If there's something I wish I knew before, that means there's something I don't like about where I am right now, or something like that. You know what I mean? There's something I'm not happy with, but I can't really exactly put a finger on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be. It could be something that it could be a lesson you learned now that would have helped you, that would have made you like go even advance even further, even more quickly if you had known earlier. You know.
Mm, I think okay, definitely would have been nice to know how dangerous self-confidence and cockiness could be. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Because as you can probably tell, I mean, from our experience in Abu Dhabi, I was quite a confident person. I know, I always like to be the one in charge. I always like to be loud. I used to talk a lot, but sometimes it's just as important to take a step back and listen to what everyone else has to say. Listen to what everyone else has for you, because you know it's a really useful skill. And sometimes being cocky and being selfish definitely does take a toll on you. You know,
mm. Yeah, pretty insightful.
I didn't
Uh,
mean it to be this deep.
I guess it kind of those kind of questions kind of lead to deep responses because I mean, I'm kind of asking you about a life lesson, and then usually if you answer that question, you're gonna give some sort of personal experience with that. So it comes with the territory. It's one of those questions that I like to ask on the podcast because I know it'll get a really good response from the guests, and you just gave one. Canton versus Wales. Which one are you choosing?
Wales anytime,
Mm,
any
yeah,
time of the week. Because
that's
honestly, it's way too cold up there. I mean, it was nice when it was like around April-ish. The weather was nice up there, but that short spring would definitely didn't make up for the 5 months of harsh winter.
mm,
Harsh, the harshest winter I've ever felt in my life. And I've been in a lot of places, just to remind you, I've been in a lot of places. Winters in Korea are very cold too. Winters in Seoul are very cold. We got a lot of snow there. But
mm,
boy, oh boy, Canton, New York. Because like I had a few friends that I knew in that school that I asked,
mm.
before I went there, I was like, hey, like what do I need to prepare, what do I need to bring? And everyone was telling me clothes, like pack your clothes well. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll bring, I don't know, fleece. I'll bring my nice jacket. But oh boy, like a jacket or two really doesn't do anything. Like you have to be stuffed up. You need your goose downs. You need your long coats and everything. You need your what are those boots called? Uggs? No, those the fluffy ones that.
It's Timberlands boots. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hmm. For sure, you have to. I remember, I had to go winter shopping before I got to Philly because I moved there in January. So, I had to get gloves and long sleeve shirts because living in Abu Dhabi, where it's hot as a sauna, you just don't have all that. I had to buy Timbs as well, which is like my favorite pair of shoe because they just look so. They're very aesthetic. I don't know. You go to school in New York, but I don't know if you know like the meme around Timberland boots, at least for New York City.
I mean, I am aware of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like Tim's are very like New NYC thing to wear. So yeah, NYC is one of my favorite places. So it's just nice to put it down for the city when I'm wearing Tim's. But yeah, um, this is kind of off the. I'm gonna ask you a third Oluswole Bowl question, but I just want to ask you about studying econ because you're an econ major, right?
I mean, I'm undeclared at the moment.
Okay.
We only have to choose our majors at the end of our sophomore year. Because it's a liberal arts college, we get to, play around with our options before we decide on anything. At the moment, I'm a little split between econ and some other options like psychology or even
Mm,
philosophy. Because, I've been assessing my options and paths for the future.
mm.
And to be honest, econ was easy for me. I quite enjoy it, but I'm not too sure if that's what I want to build my career around. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Yeah, yeah. I mean, at as a at Wharton specifically, like every student graduates with a Bachelor of Science in Economics, but we have concentrations. So I haven't declared my concentration yet. It could be in finance and marketing, but yeah, we'll see. And like I think we have to the end of our second year to declare it, if I remember correctly. So yeah, it's a pretty like universal thing across like U.S. colleges, stuff like that. And lastly, for the third Oluswole Bowl question, do you have any favorite stories from your childhood?
Favorite stories from my childhood. Uh, Let me think. My childhood, including age what to what?
We can call it age. We don't have to go so young. You could say age 8 to age 12.
8 to 12. I was in Korea and LA at that time. Let me think. Let me just say a few things and see if there's anything worth picking out.
Sure, go
So,
ahead.
well, I was born in Korea, first of all. So I lived there until I was 6, and then I moved to Nigeria.
Mm,
And so when you're 6, first of all, you can barely speak your own language, your mother tongue, right? but I had to force myself to learn a second one, English, right? Because we spoke English in Nigeria. Um, I went to an American school, and of course, like I was struggling to adjust, struggling to make friends. That's before I became a chameleon, of course. And would that be the title of this episode, Chameleon?
Probably. It's looking like it's gonna be that.
Okay. Um, and we had this vocab test every week,
Hmm.
and we also had what was that thing called again? When teachers like say out a word and you have to write it down. What was it called again?
You say out a word and you write it down.
Yeah, like the teacher like says a word out loud and you write it like a
You say
test.
diction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we had to do that every week, and each week they would give us like a list of words to study from, and
Hmm.
then they'll pick like I don't know 10 words from it and test us every week. And of course, I got 0 out of 10 in every single one of those tests for the first 2 months or
Hmm.
so. Like they would say sister, I would barely know like okay, sound is S. I'll write like S-I and then the times over. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I was struggling so much that one day I think it was like 2 months in. Yeah, 2 months in, I went to my mom crying, like, Mom, like, how do I get better at English? You know, how does one get better at English? And
Hmm.
of course, she doesn't have an answer to that. She just hugged me. You know what I mean? She was like, it's okay, it'll be all better.
Hmm.
And then I met this friend called Ibrahim. Still remember that guy. Um, I really wish I was still in touch with him, but he helped me out big time. So he would sit next to me in class and he would uh, like make sure I understood like what was going on. He would tell me what to do, and he would like explain patiently until I understood, the assignment.
Hmm.
And often he would get told off in class, to be quiet, but he didn't even care. He was actually looking out for me. And then
Hmm.
and then we moved to different classes in second grade. So that was first grade. Second grade, we moved to different classes. So I haven't seen him for, I didn't get the chance to see him that often. But
Hmm.
my English did improve drastically. And after all, when you're young, you very quickly, right? So my
Hmm.
English did improve. And when we met again in third grade, like I could pretty much speak and write and read in English fluently. And he would still remember me as, that poor Korean kid who couldn't speak a word of English. So he would be like, me go bathroom. And I'd be like, don't worry, man, I can speak English now. And it was a pretty funny story. I'm not sure if it's a funny story, but it's a memorable story from my childhood. My friend Ibrahim.
Yeah. Big shout
Mhm.
out to him. We need to get Ibrahim on the podcast.
Let me
Yeah.
think if there's a funnier story that I can remember.
That was
You
cool
can
though.
use both if you'd like.
That was a dope story, and I really enjoyed it. I never knew that about you. So, and the world
The
probably didn't know
pre-chameleon
about it.
era.
Yeah, free chameleon. Yeah, this is part of your metamorphosis into a chameleon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me think if there's a funnier story. There should be some. Uh, I mean, could you think of a funny episode with me in Abu Dhabi? I don't know why I'm interviewing you now, but let's go for it.
Yeah. Where do I begin? Where do I
Where do
begin?
you begin?
Hmm. Uh, I can't think of. It's not. It's not a particular moment, but they're definitely like Kim isms, like that you had.
Mechanisms.
It's like little like Kim isms. I can't really. I don't have a particular story that I associate with one of them, but yeah, they're definitely like unique Kim moments for sure. But
I do remember. Oh, by the way, I do remember funny as I mean Abu Dhabi, it wasn't exactly my childhood. I was, 14, 15, and 16. But I remember BTS does owe a big deal to me, a pretty big deal, because I do have to claim some credit for bringing K-pop to Brighton in Abu Dhabi. So,
give this man
I
his
mean,
respect.
I mean, I used to like play like BTS songs and dance in the middle of math class. Not in the middle, but like before and after math class. I remember. Um, I'm the one that introduced Jackson and Harrison to BTS.
Ah,
Yeah, and later I found out that Harrison's favorite song at that time was actually BTS's DNA, which
ah.
I took great pride in. And
Okay.
then just as I was bringing, the K-pop influence to Brighton, BTS made it big in the billboards, and their songs started playing on the radio. And then, that feeling when like you're like that like when you think you're special by knowing it and bringing it to others, and then it just becomes a mainstream thing, and then it's not special anymore. It's not
Yeah.
unique anymore. That's the feeling
Yeah.
you got.
Yeah. I've experienced that with one of my favorite artists. But
Really.
yeah, that's a pretty cool story. Maybe BTS, you should write a letter to BTS asking for like a commission of their sales to Zachary Kim, straight to his bank account.
For your
Yeah.
information, in case some of you are wondering why I go by Zach now, I mean, I think it's an important clarification. Zach, a few of you well-virtued ones might be aware of. Zachary has
Ha!
Zachary has been my middle name since I was 6.
Mm,
It's not in any of the official documents because there's no middle name slot in Korean documents. Like on the
mm.
birth certificates, there's no middle name slot, so it's not in any of the documents. But it has been Zach since I was in Nigeria. But didn't, never got the idea of making people call me Zach. I made people call me Kim for some
Mm.
reason. But later I realized that calling me by my surname is kind of weird if you think about it. So I decided to go by Zach.
It's kind of interesting how you're at Brighton for 4 years. Everyone calls you Kim, and no one thought it was weird. You're the only
Also
person that's
because
called by their last name, and it was like
exactly.
normal.
Okay,
Yeah.
when I was invited to the group chat for my new school in Wales, found
Yeah.
out there was someone else called Kim. So I was like, oh my God, I can't be, I need to be the only person called by a certain name. There can't be two Kims. So I'm gonna have to change.
Uh,
I'm me. I can't be overlapped with anyone else. You know what I mean?
yeah, I get you. There can only be
Also,
one.
there can only be one me. So I was like, okay, wait, I do have a middle name that I never use. I'll just go by Zach. You know?
Fair enough. Interesting story. I kind of, because you never really told me why you go by Zach, so I never really knew. So it was interesting that you cleared that up. Maybe the listeners, if they got it this far in the episode, they just got a valuable piece of information, hopefully. So this wraps up our episode of Oluswole today. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Likewise to me. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It was cool having you on. Cool hearing your experiences. Oluswole is available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and our links to our socials are in the description. Thank you guys for listening, and peace.